Hello and welcome back to Catalan Connections. Today we'll talk to Salva Lopez, who is a trainer, a musician and an international speaker. Salva, welcome to Catalan Connections.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Great to be here. It's an opportunity and a pleasure.
And in English.
And in English, which is always, challenging.
Well, I said musician and international speaker just to keep it short, because you do so many other things. Let's mention just a few. Edutainer. Edutainer.
Yeah, the meaning. Do you want to know the meaning?
Let's see what that is.
It's a strange word, I know. It's a weird word. It's the mixture between education and entertainment. So edutainment is what I do. Is mixing education with my guitar. I broke one of my guitars, so I use them to give classes.
You'll play something later, right?
Yeah, we'll play something later at the end of the show.
Right. Edutainer, we got that. Let's see. Rockin Speaker.
Rockin Speaker, that's because I give speeches in many countries, in 12 countries I've done, for enterprises and congresses, talking about business things, about many, many concepts like, I don't know, innovation, teamwork, leadership, funds conversion, many different things that are purely business concepts, but I use my electric guitar, and my examples are all coming from the world of music. So my examples can be from Coldplay to Queen or Black Sabbath or, Iron Maiden or whatever.
That's quite unusual, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I have something else here. In Catalan it would be Desprogrammador, in English, DeProgrammer.
DeProgrammer. Yeah, the idea is that everybody has been programmed. I mean, I consider the human beings, we are like hardware. And when you have a child, you have to program him. So the first programming that you do with your child is the language. Is teaching him how to speak. But after that program, there comes a lot of other programs about how to build a relationship with the environment, with other people, with other situations, how to do things, how to manage problems or whatever. Those programs are part of us the rest of our lives. But sometimes we need to erase some of those programs because they are annoying us. They are preventing us to find solutions to some problems in life. And that's what I call deprogramming. Or sometimes you will hear that as unlearning, meaning that you've been learning all your life some things, and at some point you need to unlearn something, to erase that thing, because it's causing you problems.
That's very interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but now I'd like to ask you about your relationship with music, right? And how you apply your knowledge of music to business and companies.
All right. Well, I've been a musician since I was 19. I started very late, actually. I started playing guitar. I started learning by myself for 3 years. Then I started taking some classes. Now I'm learning by myself again, using YouTube and the modern resources, which are huge and amazing. I can remember this. I was studying at the university, and every day I was studying, but with one of my guitars beside me, and I was studying or doing my homework or whatever.
You were studying.
I was studying economics and business administration at the University of Pompeu Fabra. I was the first, one of the firsts in studying there. And my mom came to my room from time to time, and she was very concerned about me playing guitar, because she was like, don't waste your time playing guitar.
How can you concentrate now?
Yeah, how can you concentrate? You have to be a good economist. I mean, you have to pass mark in all the subjects. Don't lose your time with the guitar. And now she cannot understand how that I've made a living out of this, which is a strange thing.
Well, you often say that you live between three worlds, which are music, business, and teaching.
And teaching. Yeah, I've been a businessman all my entire career. I mean, since I started working for companies. But at the same time, I've been a musician the same period, and I've released 2 albums now which you can find in Spotify, And I've been teaching at the university for the last 10 years. So yeah, I live in this intersection, and in this intersection, there's a privileged view of everything, and you know, everything that the three worlds can learn from each other. So I'm kind of a little bee, you know, bringing information and ideas from one world to the other.
Mm-hmm. You're also a learnaholic, right?
Yeah, learnaholic. That's one of my, yeah, that's one of my obsessions. I need to learn something every day. So I'm learning by doing, by observing, in any area. So I'm not only as a musician, I'm learning as a father, as a person, as a citizen. Mm-hmm. I'm learning, you know, how to do new things every day. That's something so important to keep your brain, you know, in good shape. So mm-hmm. we all should be
to be curious, right? To be curious.
Exactly. Curiosity is one of the main things that we humans have in our, not only in our minds, in our hearts, in our souls. That's something really, really big, really important. Curiosity no? And creativity. Yeah. I mean, so that's something very important from the educational point of view, but not only that point of view. I mean, curiosity and taking care of people's curiosity so that they can learn and keep learning every day. Don't be boring. I always say that. Don't be boring, whatever you're doing. If you're teaching, if you're speaking, if you're doing business, don't be boring.
Mm-hmm. In your work with companies, Salva, you often say, companies need to make music mm-hmm. for clients. And to make music means taking into account emotions.
Yeah, that's
yes?
one of my...
Let's see.
That's one of my favorite topics to talk about, emotions. We humans, we are a mixture between reasons and emotions. This binary thing. So we adults, we are like little kids. There's a little kid inside of every adult, and it's mm-hmm. taking decisions every day. So we need to focus much more in the emotional reaction of people about anything, about politics, about education, about family, everything. So emotions are in the root of everything we do and we feel. So yeah, when I consider that a company is a rock band. It can be seen as a rock band or an orchestra, if you will. It's something that opens your eyes. If you think about a group of people doing something together, they're playing a song together, so the song needs to walk. We musicians, we talk about music walks, or it doesn't walk, no? It works or not works. So yeah, for me, if you're a company and you're doing music, and you're playing well, then your customers will become fans.
Mm-hmm. And how should companies turn customers into fans?
There are many
This
strategies.
is another thing that you often say it's quite important for a company.
Yeah, and normally I try to advise companies on how to do that, how to achieve that your customers can become fans. No? Obviously, not all of your customers will become fans. Some customers, they really don't care about your products. They need you, but they are thinking about other things. They're passionate about other things. But you have as a businessman, as a CEO, you should put your efforts in trying to build a fans base, so that a portion of your customers are fans. Because if fans feel a connection, an emotional connection, that's the link with emotions. I mean, if a brand makes you feel something positive that you like, then you feel something about that brand. Then your commitment with that brand is completely different.
I see. It makes sense.
It makes sense. I mean, you know, the permission to failure is much bigger. It's much more elastic. Think about brands as, I don't know, Harley Davidson. Come on, people tattoo the brand here. I always say this: would you like your customers to tattoo your logo in their skin? And everybody smiles like, oh, that would be great. No, yeah, but Mr. Harley Davidson, he never thought about this. But 30% of customers, they wear a tattoo, which is Amazing, isn't it? And we can think about many other brands, big and small brands that have fans. Apple, it's, you know.
Of course.
But Nespresso is another one. Adidas lately. But little brands as, I don't know, I can think about Compete, which is stickers for if you have an injury in your feet. You use them and instantly your pain goes away. I'm a fan. So it doesn't cost a lot. It's not an Apple, it's not a guitar, it's just a little sticker that you put and you say, I'm a fan. So fans can be built in any category of products you can imagine, not only the big ones.
Well, we've got one of your books here called Rockvolution Empresarial, right? Rockvolution, like business, rock evolution, something like that. Rockvolution in business. Well, can you tell us what it is about? I know you give lots of examples of successful musicians, rock stars. Here I see Iron Maiden, Lady Gaga, John Bon Jovi, Black Eyed Peas, to mention just a few. So basically, if I get it right, it's bringing these successful stories and putting them into practice in companies. And how do you do that?
So, well, yeah, the English version should be like a business Rockvolution is a game. Is about revolution, evolution, and rock. So it's Rockvolution is the idea. It's a book about all the artists, not all of them, because I had a limitation of space. You know, the publisher told me, hey, don't write a Bible here, no? Because I had so many things to explain that I had to organize on CAD and be very synthetic about, many musicians that show examples from which we could learn things. It's like a lot of food for thought in this book.
Let's give us some examples.
Wow.
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, for instance, one of my favorite examples that I use normally in my talks is about the Beatles. You know the Beatles? The Beatles, they stopped playing live at the, it was late 60s, long before they stopped making records. So they stopped playing live because technology was not developed enough for them to play live in so big spaces, in so big venues with so many people. So they were forced to play with their amplifiers, the back line. That's what we call the back line, which is maybe a 100 watts amplifier, which is nothing. I mean, we use these kind of amplifiers in our rehearsing rooms, but not in a big stadium. So people basically they were screaming all the show, and the Beatles they couldn't listen to each other because it was so noisy that they couldn't listen to each other. So how can you play and make music with someone else if you cannot hear what they're playing? I mean, and so it was a disaster, a completely disaster. That's why they decided to stop that. And one of these last concerts, live performance, they were in the backstage after the concert, and Ringo Starr, who was the drum player, he mentioned to his bandmates, he told them, tonight when we played All My Loving, it sounded strange, but I had such a great time playing that. And the other three look at each other and tell him, Ringo, we never played that song tonight. No? And he said, but I did. So there was what? Can you imagine the disaster? So that's why we musicians, we do a sound check before starting the show. A sound check is necessary. We can be like 4 or 5 hours making a good sound check to make sure that every one of us is listening properly, each one of the others, so that we can do a great job together. And that's that's the learning for companies. No, before going on the market, before marketing your products, you need to do a sound check. You need to make sure that each department is listening correctly to each one of the other departments to be coordinated, because you're an artist, you're playing music. If you do a good job, the market will clap their hands and they will be your fans.
I see. Well, let's take some other famous bands and see how we can apply their success to business. some bands or musicians that you mention in your book?
Yeah, another one of my favorites is Black Sabbath. It's an oldie, but a goodie.
I used to be a fan.
I used to be a fan.
When I was younger.
Wow,
Yes.
great. That's good to know. Good to know. So this story, you will love this story. Black Sabbath, they were at the late 60s. You know, the rock and roll was starting. You know, everybody was loving that new thing, which was rock and roll, no? With a lot of energy, a lot of voltage, and a lot of noise there. And these guys, they were rehearsing in a place that was right in front of a cinema. And every time they went to the rehearsing room, they saw a long queue of people queuing at the cinema. It was like, wow, how many people? Every day we come here, there's a lot of people queuing here. Why? And they realized that it was a movie, a cinema specialized in terror movies, scary movies. And they thought, wow, so people love fear. So why don't we mix fear into our music? And that's a question. This is a story about innovation.
Innovation, which is a key.
Which is key for any
success.
enterprise today. No? So this is a story of how musicians, we have our own strategies, innovative strategies, and this is one of my favorites, is mixing things that were separated. And these guys, they mixed fear into rock and roll, and they built heavy metal. Heavy metal is you know, this kind of dark music. With, you know, if you remember all, you know, the
Yes,
you know.
Well, it's a great story. I must confess I had no idea, so thank you for sharing it with us.
I love to explain.
Salva, can you tell us more strategies and tips that you teach companies in order to be successful?
Mm-hmm. Wow, there's so many.
So many, just a few?
So many. Let me tell you just a few. Lately, in my travels through Asia, I've been talking a lot about these ones. First, about using people's curiosity. We talked about curiosity before. Some artists, they are taking advantage of social networks, mostly Facebook or Instagram, which is something that everybody uses today. You know? And they are taking advantage of these networks to create a personal, direct communication channel with their fans, with their followers, so that their followers can see anything in their lives.
That's something relatively new. A few years ago, we weren't even talking about this, but now it's such a huge thing, no? Social media.
It's been an invention.
It's really important to know how to use it properly.
Exactly, no? Because, I mean, you know, think about the idea of bringing the customer to your pocket. But now it's the opposite, is you have to be in their pockets, I mean, in their smartphones, using these applications. No? They are curious about you. So one of my best examples is John Mayer. John Mayer is a singer-songwriter. I love him. He's a big influence for me as a singer, as a songwriter, composer, and guitar player. He's amazing. And he uses Instagram to let his fans see him while he's, I don't know, in a hotel room, waiting for the next rehearsal or the next live gig. And he's in the sofa, you know, playing his guitar, and he connect and make a live broadcast using Instagram. So he lives in Los Angeles. I live in Barcelona, more or less. So there's like, I don't know, 8 hours difference, something like that. So he normally does this at night, just before going to sleep, which is my morning, when I'm just about jumping into the shower. And I get this message in my smartphone, John Mayer is starting a live connection. I go, whoa! So it's amazing because I can have my shower while watching John Mayer playing and explaining things, which is amazing. I can see his live.
Yes, and that's pretty amazing. It's
pretty amazing. That's something that I recommend to companies. I mean, can you use your customers' curiosity about your process? Can you show anything about your black box? I mean, the way you're producing your products or services? Can you show something that's nice, that's funny? You do it because they're eager to know about you.
Yeah, social media is a huge thing at the moment, and I think more things we're going to use it even more in the future, don't you think?
Yeah, it's an invention. I mean, we depend on that. I mean, we cannot imagine our lives without social media right now.
By the way, how do you see business and changes that will happen according to you in business, in companies, in 5-10 years' time?
Well, it's going to be crazy. One of the main trends that I'm identifying here is that just because of the social media power, it's going to become very easy to make a conversation between business and the marketplace. It reminds me about Pink Floyd, you know, us and them. So it's not going to be us and them anymore. It's going to be all together now, working around these needs and these solutions. I mean, in a conversation, how can we join the conversation? Because the marketplace, the people, the customers, they are lively talking about everything, sometimes about our products, sometimes about brands, sometimes about their needs, their opinions, their thoughts, their wishes. Mm-hmm. Can we join the conversation? I believe that the most successful brands or companies are going to be the ones who join the conversation in from a more clever approach, right? It's not going to be easy. I mean, it's not.
It's a change of mentality as
absolutely,
well. No?
Absolutely. It's opening the doors and thinking about innovation as a really true open innovation. I mean, let the people tell you what they want, and then you won't need to do any effort to sell your products, because you will be producing the products they told you they want to purchase from you. So that's it's changing completely the mindset.
It's fascinating indeed. Well, before finishing, Salva, I would like to ask you about how do you live this international moment? Because you said it yourself before, you are a reinvented professional. Mm-hmm. From an economist. You now became a speaker. Mm-hmm. You are doing conferences and talks worldwide. How do you live this moment? What does it represent for you?
Ooh, it's an amazing thing. I mean, I've been traveling the world, and this is getting more and more intense now. So I've been traveling in Asia. I was in Colombia 3 weeks ago. I was in Indonesia 1 month ago. I've been asked to go to Philippines and Singapore at the end of the year. So it's crazy, and it's a big opportunity for me as a person to witness the differences between countries and the way we are kind of converging to common things. Like, I don't know, Facebook is not everywhere. Amazon is not everywhere. You should know what they're doing in Indonesia. It's like a similar Amazon, but with their own differences. I believe these guys, they're going to export their business models to the Western countries. It's an amazing thing. I mean, I think that the world is becoming smaller and smaller, but at the same time, it seems like a paradox. It's becoming bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm.
That's quite interesting. Well, we'd love to have you here again to let us know about your projects. Sure. I know you're preparing a new book. Yep. At the moment. Mm-hmm. And we would like to listen to you singing and playing because you're the Rockin Speaker and you always end your talks with the music. So what are you going to play for us today? Yeah,
one of my favorites of all times is Oasis Wonderworld. So if you will, I'll play that one.
Looking forward to listening to it.
All right,
thank you, Salva, for coming. It's been interesting. It's been amazing to have you here. Good luck with all your projects.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Monday is gonna be the day that I'm gonna throw it back to you. Somehow realize what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word was on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. say to you, but I don't know how.